Hello, YouTubers. Joe Kersey here on the 7th of February, 2014 at about 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time. Now, you'll notice I'm downloading a movie using my Mac YouTube downloader software. It's not showing it very clearly, so let's just back off here a bit. Hello, my world. It's been going at this here for about 10 minutes, and now it's an 800 megabyte download, and it's only 21% finished, and it seems to be progressing a bit faster now, but still, as long as it's progressing, that's all that matters. This movie is called, the name of the movie was Crystal River, and it was made in 2006, and it was set in Georgia, and it well, it's basically a chick flick. Beguiled once again. But the protagonist, the main character, is a woman that excuse me, is married to a man. Well, he's married to a guy, and they've been trying to have a child, and she's had 4 miscarriages. And I've known a number of women in that circumstance. They try and they try and they try, and it's not like they're infertile, you know. I mean, they're going at it, and she's getting pregnant, and but somewhere between 2 and 4 months into the pregnancy, she miscarries, and if they analyze the fetal remains, sometimes it turns out that she's miscarrying normal. You know, abnormal fetuses, they get miscarried right away. But sometimes, you know, when the miscarriage occurs later in pregnancy, they can sort of look at the fetal remains, if that there happens to be any that are recoverable, and you know, see if there's a problem. You know, was there a problem with the fetus? Is there a genetic problem? You know, was there a genetic problem? And so I've known a number of people, some related to me, some that have been, you know, been my friends or are my friends still, and this is sort of the shame that dare not speak its name among women, I think, or among how they talk about it in public. I mean, because for these women, this is a death. You know, particularly when it gets much past the start of the 4th month. You know, and if they really want to have this child, I mean, this is like a death. This is like their child has died. Well, their child has died. You know, and it's very sad. And this movie dealt very well with that problem, I think. You know, this woman in the movie, the character she was obviously getting a bit depressed, but not overtly depressed in the sense of, oh, we've got to go to a clinic and take medicine for it, depressed. But, you know, and the husband was doing everything he could, and this, that, and the other. And then of course, there was a brief discussion about adoption, and well, they didn't really need to go the in vitro route because, you know, the issue is, can she carry a child to term, and you know, adoption. And she said she didn't want to adopt, and that's, well, as somebody who basically would never want to adopt either, because I wouldn't want to take care of a child that was not mine by blood. Uh, that's just the way I am. Call me an asshole if you want. Obviously, I think a lot of guys think that way and sometimes change their mind. Oftentimes change their mind. But she didn't want to adopt, and so the guy says, "Well, honey, I've saved up like, $40,000 for, we could do this." And she says, "Well, fine. Go ahead and do whatever you want with it." So he does. He goes out and buys a bass boat, one of these big bass boats, they're sort of flat and low to the water, and they have like about a 8,000 horsepower engine on the back. And he shows up with his bass boat. He says, "What'd you do?" She says, "You said I could spend the adoption money." She says, "I was mad." Well, tits for you, honey. He's got his bass boat now. Meanwhile, there's and there's always another guy, and another guy shows up in the form of the grandson of this curmudgeonly old guy across the street from him. And, he likes to go out in the evening looking very sultry with his shirt off. She stares at him from the unconsummated nursery on the top floor of their house across the street. But it's all very well done, and I'll tell you, whoever did the set design for this movie, they got the period pieces. This was set in the early 2000s, but as anybody who's ever traveled in the South knows, and has been fortunate enough to be admitted into these people's homes, particularly older people's homes, and I fortunately was able to experience that in North Carolina and South Carolina. They got the period furnishings on this just dead on. There's a rocking chair in that nursery that is identical to my great-grandfather's rocking chair that I know at least was from the 1840s, but it may well have come up from Randolph County, North Carolina in 1808. Identical. And carving on the back and everything. Hell, it might have been made by the same guy. Well, anyway, that's what I spent my afternoon watching, and like a lot of these movies nowadays, nowadays meaning within the last 10 years or so, you sort of have this ambiguous ending, and that's okay because that's the way a lot of life is, isn't it? It's ambiguous while you wait to see what happens next. Meanwhile, as we're now only up to 37% downloading, I'll actually tell you what I came here to tell you. I'm going to knock that over if I'm not careful. First of all, here is our place out the back door. And it was 4 degrees below zero this morning. And right now it's only up to around 6 or 7 above. Woo! But my onerous task today was one, I had to go out and buy some sort of supplies for our larder. I'd pretty much exhausted every bit of spaghetti type material in the house. I was completely out of tuna fish. We'd exhausted all of Paul's goodies from the hotel, pretty much. So it was time to actually go out and buy some food. So off to Walmart I went, but only after I went up to pay my real estate taxes. Now we pay ours in February and July. And of course you pay them a year late, so this is the first half of the 2013 year, real estate tax. And since last year, the voters in their wisdom put on another, was it a 7 mil? It was a 7 mil fire levy. Well, I have no problem. I don't mind paying for the fire department a little bit, but 7 mils? So that meant my real estate taxes went up $1,200 last year. They are now $11,022.48 a year. Now you guys have seen my place. Well, you got to pay them or they're going to come in and take your place and kick you out, aren't they? That would be the government helping you. Land of the free, huh? So I went up to the Delaware County Bank branch up there just north of Lewis Center Road there on US 23, and I used to always like to go up to the Treasurer's Department up there in the county courthouse because it was, it's one of these old-fashioned county courthouses, and it was built in the 1870s, and you go in and it's great, and the wood floors creak, and the big doors and the ceilings are high. But then after all of this 2001 nonsense, you basically have to, to go up there, you have to take your clothes off, get filled up, which can be fun in some circumstances. Well, after the battery died on me, and the download marches on apace, after these new security things were entered into, I just decided not to go do that anymore. Plus, I don't have to drive all the way up to Delaware to do it. So I went and bought some gas today before I did this. I mean, I started my truck up, and the truck started up, but it turned over a little longer than it usually does, and it's got this 5W20 oil in it. And then it starts off and it runs immediately at 1,500 RPM, and I'm thinking this can't be good on the engine to do that in this cold weather. Nonetheless, that's how it's programmed to do it. And then so off I went to the gas station, which is just half mile up the road, and filled up, and then I went to start the truck, to pull out of the pump area, and it ground, and it ground, and it ground, and it ground, and it ground. And I shut it off. Ground, and it ground, and it ground, and it ground, and it ground. And I shut it off, and I thought, well. So, you be sure everything's set, it's the thing in park, and your foot on the brake, and you wait a bit, and you realize it might be because you've stirred up anything in the tank, This time, it was zero, So, then flip it over again, and in relatively short order, then it starts. Off we go to pay the taxes, and I get to the bank, and I'm thinking, well, should I just leave the thing run? No, it's warmed up now, and so turns out it was okay. When I went to start it again, it started right up. But the real story I came here to tell you today, before I give this movie review, was the encounter in the bank. Now, it seems that I was not the only one in there paying my taxes at that moment. Albeit there were only two of us in there dealing, with counter people. I'm going to sit down here now. So this woman, I suppose she'd be called a woman of a certain age. That means you're a woman anywhere between the age of, say, 45 to 60. Very pleasant woman. I looked very much as I look now when I had my larger, heavier outer coat on. And I took my sunglasses off so I didn't look like I was coming in to rob a joint. And I always have to. Well, I can't say I have to. I always make a remark. That means it's a matter of free choice. I always make a remark. Have to implies there's no control over that. These people at the bank are not taxing me. Well, I don't know. Maybe if they voted for the various tax levies, they're taxing me. Yeah, so maybe she was taxing me. Maybe she was part of the group that was taxing me, confiscating part of my wealth to support her lifestyle. But I don't know that. In any case, it's pointless. But I did say, says, how can I help you today? I said, well, and I hand over my materials and check and said, you can help me pay these extortionate, this government, you can help me pay this government extortion. You can help me pay this government extortion. And and generally that shuts off all discussion, and they process it and they stamp it and they do this and they do that. But no, it seems this woman wanted to engage in a colloquy. Just how much property do you have? Now I've got 3 parcels. This place is in 3 parcels, as I've referenced in the past. And it totals about just under 8 acres. And I said, well, this is all the land. This is all I own now. So he being an asshole. No, I just made that up. I didn't say that, but I thought about saying it. See, I was able to control my mouth. I said, no, I said, I have 3 parcels and they're all contiguous, and so it's 8 acres. And I didn't actually say where it was. I didn't need to say where it was. I mean, she had the addresses right there on the bills in front of her. I mean, she knew where they were. And I don't know. And then she says, it's so oddball, And I said, yeah, I've been out here 33 years. Well, I've actually, in retrospect, I've been out here 32 years, so I wasn't accurate on that. But I didn't. Usually at that point, then I'll wax. I know I kept my mouth shut. But she didn't keep hers shut. She decided to upsell me, as they say in the banking trade. Says, she says, where do you do your banking? Well, she knew where I did my banking because she could see it on the daggone check. J.P. Morgan Chase. And she says, well, we have a very good deal on loans now. Very low percentage rate on loans. and I just listened to it. And I'm completely blank. I am so unused to this kind of back and forth anymore because I just don't go out and interact with people, and it's. Hang on here. Oh, what a bunch of bullshit. Another telemarketer or somebody. This one says, well, said something. So, I really don't know how to respond to some of this stuff. And I said, then she sort of picked up on my speechlessness. She says, well, if you want to borrow any money to do improvements. So I don't want to improve anything. I'm very happy the way I am. Yeah, well, I said, she says, oh, what do you do on the ground? Do you grow stuff on it? I says, I just live on it. I just live on it. But at this point, I'm having a little bit of fun, but I'm also kind of nonplussed. I mean, what? So then, I will say to the Delaware County Bank's credit, they're doing a bit more cross-checking in terms of being sure that the taxes actually get credited properly than they had been doing the previous years. So I applaud them for that. Yeah, and I remarked on that. She says, this way then, if there's at all any sort of a problem, we can trace it right back to the point source. In the computer system, and if there's a person, any. And I said, that's good, because I've always wondered about that, and I had always wondered about that. So they've done a bit. That's an improvement. But this phenomenon goes along with the more general chattiness that I've detected. Well, I think I've remarked on this a couple of times when I've gone just to cash a check at the drive-through, but my bag. These people act like they're chatting you up, getting ready to ask you for a date. Or hell, if you go in and there are a couple times you have to go in to do something inside the bank, and these guys try to chat you up. And I don't know, maybe they're not trying to chat me up. It sure seems like they are. Is that watchful, hopeful waiting? I don't know. Maybe just me not getting out enough. That's probably the answer, actually. Oh, we're up to 100%, I think. Oh, it's finished. Well, good. That's another almost gigabyte of my hard drive. I'm down to like 70 gigabytes in my hard drive. I'm going to have to figure out how to get auxiliary hard drive for my computer. That's all there is to it. So, that will be sort of taking up my next week or two. Well, so I went down to well, I mailed a letter, and then I went over to Walmart and did some shopping, and that went fairly benignly. And then I came home and was able to, do some four-wheeling around here in the driveway to sort of compact down some of the snow a bit, because we've got this. It's a big, crusty. You'd almost, in order to shovel this, you'd have to do boom, 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 cut like a square, and then get under and cut out this chunk of ice. Well, it's not ice. Well, it's more or less functionally ice. And of course, a cubic foot of water weighs 68 pounds. So this can be very problematic for somebody like myself, or for anybody for that matter. And so, thank God for four-wheel drive on trucks. Well, that's it, guys. I think. no profound tale here today. Well, I don't know, except, thanks be to God we're all alive and able to get up and walk around and take nourishment. So, I'll let you take one last look out here. It is pretty. Bye-bye, YouTubers.